you gonna sit with me? Do you wanna sit with me? Well, sit down if you're gonna sit. Oh boy. Well, sit. You gonna sit? All right. Welcome back to another week. This week I want to talk to you about competing. You think you might be ready to compete, so let's talk about it. Grizzy, get out of the way. Move. Oh my god. I don't know if this is gonna work. Okay, well sit down then. Sit down. Okay, so I think I have my dog under control now. He's sitting nicely here. So the first thing that I recommend to anybody who talks to me about potentially competing is for them to go to a show and watch a show. It gives them a couple of things. The first thing it allows you to do is to see the process. So depending on what federation that you determine that you want to compete in, you'll be able to see there's a comparison round. Typically there are stage walks, and then sometimes there's a carousel walk. It depends on what federation. So you want to go to the show and take a look at what the process looks like, how long the process is. I can tell you that I compete in both the OCB and the INBF, and the days are very long. Typically as a competitor, we get there from 8 in the morning, and there are times when we're not leaving with our trophies until 11 p.m. So it's a long day for you, it's a long day for your family, your friends that go there to support you. So definitely go and watch a show and see from beginning to end what that entails. What does it look like to compete in this federation? The other thing it allows you to do is to actually see what these people, these competitors look like up close and personal. Can you actually take yourself to that level of conditioning? Can you stay committed to your nutrition and to your additional cardio and whatever else you might do to attain that level of leanness to be stage ready? There's a big difference between being ready to hit the beach for Mexico and ready to step on stage and be judged and pay people to give you their opinion, because that's really what you're doing. So competing is fun. I love it. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I don't want this to sound negative, but the reality is you are paying somebody, you're paying a panel of judges for their opinion. And sometimes you might not want to hear what they have to say, but that's what you're signing up for. So think of it that way. One, go and watch a show. The other thing that you need to think about is what federation is right for you. So as I just mentioned, I compete in the OCB, so the Organization of Competitive Bodybuilding, and also the INBF, the International Bodybuilding Federation. Totally effed that up. Anyways, there's also NANBF, there's NPC, there's all kinds of different federations that you can look into. Now, the reason that I chose to compete in the two that I compete in, I live in New England, so there are plenty of shows that are put on by those federations all over New England that are easy commutes or a one-night stay for me, so that is something that I factor into the cost of competing. And they're also all natural federations, and what that means is I feel like I can have some faith in the fact that I'm competing on a level playing field. I don't take any kind of steroids or growth hormone, so I want to be competing against women that are also not doing that, so that it's a level playing field. So do some research, go online. I'll throw a couple links in the description of the videos for you, and check out the different federations and see which one might be a good fit for you. Now, when you do that, go and review the judging criteria, because every federation is not the same. They'll be similar, but they won't be the same. Their posing will be similar, but it won't be the same. So what federation you decide that you're going to compete in will determine who you hire as a posing coach, what posing you practice, and then how you want to present your physique to best represent you and to get you the most points, or the least points. The lowest number of points sometimes wins, depends on what federation you're in. So you want to make sure that you get all of your ducks in a row, get your facts straight, take a look at, are they looking at proportions, muscularity, conditioning. You want to know that stuff well before you start cutting for a show, so that you're not doing something that might be detrimental to the judging criteria. So get your facts in order, go online, visit the websites, and determine which federation is right for you. Other things that you should consider are what categories might be right for you based on your present look or the look that you intend to have when you're going to compete. So maybe you're interested in talking about and researching competing, but you're not going to compete until next year. Okay, great. So for a woman, are you going to be in bikini? Here's a picture of me when I competed in bikini. Or as a woman, instead of bikini, might you be in figure? Here's a picture of me competing in figure. Mind you, this is in the OCB or the INBF, so these are all natural federations. Or are you going to compete in bodybuilding? What level of muscularity does that entail? Looks like this. And then as a guy, will you be competing as a physique competitor? Here's a quick shot. Or are you more interested and do you think you're ready to compete at the level of bodybuilding as a male? Here's a picture of what that will look like. Okay, so again, remember the pictures I just showed you are from either the OCB or the INBF, which are all natural federations. I recommend when you go to select a show, you take a look at who competed last year in that show. So that should give you an idea of, is it a smaller show? Is it a very large show? If this is going to be your first competition, you probably don't want to go into the biggest New England show that there is if you're in New England, for instance. You probably want to get your bearings and get your feet wet here in a smaller show. Take a look at who the top 5 winners were the previous year. Is that a physique that you feel like you can attain and be competitive? And then go from there. So now you've picked a federation, you think you've targeted a show. So the next thing you need to do is you need to register as an amateur in that organization. So depending on which organization that is, it might be a $60 annual dues, it might be $150 annual dues. So what that does is that gives you, so for instance, I hold an amateur card in the OCB and the INBF that allows me to compete in that calendar year that I paid my dues in. So once your dues are paid and you receive your little card in the mail that says that you've paid up, you can then register for your show. When you register for your show, you will then be paying for the categories that you compete in. And I say categories because maybe you've decided, okay, I'm going to compete in bikini. There is debut, novice, and open. And then there's also masters over 40. Sometimes it's masters over 50. So what that means is if I am, let's say I'm a first-time bikini competitor, I'm allowed to compete in debut. Debut is a category that's only for first-timers. And then I may also want to cross over and compete in novice. Novice is a category that's for any competitor that has competed before. Now, if you choose to compete in open, which you could, the open category, that is the category where pro cards are awarded in pro card qualifying shows. And it will say that right in the show information when you go to register. So at this point, I compete in the open category and only in the open category. But there was a time when I was brand new, I competed in debut and novice. So my very first figure show, I went out on stage with the debut, all the girls that were first timers in figure and first timers competing. And then I went back out in novice and I was on the stage with girls that have been competing before, but they don't want a chance at a pro card. They feel like they've got experience, they want to compete, but they don't feel that they're quite ready to compete in the open class. And then when you're competing in open, you feel like you're ready and you want to go against other people that feel like they're ready to potentially turn pro. And then of course Masters is a way for us essentially to compare apples to apples. So if it's Masters 40 plus, that's anybody that's 40 years old or over. So potentially you'll have a bikini competitor that's in Open and then they cross over in Masters. The reason why I'm talking to you about this is because that will be a consideration. It's a cost. So typically for shows, you're gonna pay one fee for your first category. So if you're competing in bikini debut, it's going to be $50. It'll be anywhere typically from $50 to $75 per category. That's in the federations I competed. NPC I know is a lot more expensive. And then they'll charge you an additional fee for your crossover. So then I would also have to pay, if I was a Masters over 40, say an additional $30 to compete and come out on stage a second time and compete in that round. So now it's costing me $80 to register for this show, and that's after I've already paid my $65 annual membership. Keeping track of this? It's not cheap. The bigger thing though is your commitment to your nutrition and your training, right? So you've got to be doing that right along. Okay, what else should you consider? Let's talk about that. As a girl, you see those flashy suits we wear? Fun, right? We love to get them and order them and pick the colors and pick these fancy crystals that we bling them up with. God knows, Big Mike, much to Big Mike's disdain, I've had my share of bikinis and figure suits. They're not cheap. So you need to decide, are you going to purchase a suit? Do you have a friend that can loan you one? Or are you going to rent a suit? These suits go anywhere from $250 over $1,000. The suits that you've seen me in, let me show you this one. Those suits are all over $600. So typically how it goes is the more stones you add, the more expensive the suit gets. So save your pennies, baby, because that's what you want to have, a nice suit that's going to present you well and not detract from your physique, but add to it on stage. So you want to start thinking about that now, whether that's because you've got a budget for it or you've got to start asking around friends that compete if they've got one that they'd be willing to let you loan, borrow. There's also a link, I will put it in the video description. There's a Facebook page and many competitors post their gently used suits on there and you can buy a used suit. I have sold my suits and typically I've sold them for half of what I've paid. So I had one suit that was $700. I sold it for $325 plus shipping to somebody. So it's a great deal for that person to get a suit that's only been worn twice. And it's a great deal for me because I'm recouping some of that money to use to buy my new suit that is gonna fit me since I've grown. So suits are not cheap. It's definitely a big consideration, especially for the women. I know the guys' investment is a bit less. A lot less in regards to that, but it's certainly a consideration you want to think about. Now, the other costs associated with shows in all natural federations, so I can speak for the OCB and the INBF, we have polygraph fees. So before we are allowed to compete, we all need to submit to a polygraph test, and that's basically committing to them that we have not used any of the substances on the banned substance list. So no type of growth hormone, etc., etc., hydroxycut, any of these kind of like diet pill fad things that are out on the market. So we are all natural competitors. We're not allowed to use any of that rigmarole. So you take a polygraph test, you have to pay the polygrapher in cash. I've seen it anywhere from $40 to $60. And they've actually got a new rule in the OCB where they've allowed it to, if you compete in back-to-back shows, they'll allow one polygraph, say you do one week, to be utilized for a show the following week. So take a look at the guidelines again, ocbonline.com or WNBF.com, and see how those rules may affect you if you're considering doing more than one show. But polygraph fees are something you want to take into consideration. Something almost more important than your suit is your spray tan. Budget and plan for your spray tan. I've paid anywhere from $100 to $165 for my spray tan, for my competition tan. I have never used any of these splat on, pad on. People try to save their money, and I'm going to tell you this. When you go to the show, I want you to watch very closely. Look at the competitors, watch them under the lights, how they're moving. When you look up there and you see that tan that's blotchy, I guarantee you it's one of these smack on, do it yourself tans. So if you want to save a few pennies, but I'm going to tell you what, if you diet for 16 or 20 weeks and you kick your own ass for that amount of time to get your body the leanest it's ever been, to show every striation, every quad separation, every muscle, and you bust your fucking ass, you don't want to get up there and lose because your tan sucks. So don't be a fool. All shows will have a spray tanner that they will give you information, contact information for, and I would recommend very highly that that is the spray tanner that you use. Why? Because most of the competitors will be using that person, so you will have the same even, golden, extra dark tan that everybody has. Again, that level playing field. You want to stand out for your physique. You don't want to stand out because you have a shitty fucking tan. So save your pennies, pay the money. It's worth it to have a good tan. Trust me on this one. Please, don't be foolish. Something the girls need to think about, hair and makeup. Are you a tomboy? Do you know nothing about it? You might be paying anywhere, I've seen, from $50 to $150 for makeup. And then I don't even want to talk about hair. So I do my own makeup. I do my own hair. I've watched a few tutorials. I've had a few friends show me some tricks here and there. And then there's usually, you know, a girl here or there that'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do your makeup. I can show you this. I can do a cat eye on you. So just make a plan. So if you've got extra money you wanna spend on that and you can afford to spend it, go for it, my girl. Go for it. If you don't, then you need to plan ahead, because aesthetics are part of the criteria. If you're in bikini or you're in figure, they are looking at the complete package, and that includes hair and makeup. And you'll notice we are spray tanned ridiculously dark, and that means, hey, guess what, mama? This is the darkest, most crazy makeup that you have ever put on your body. I guarantee, even on Halloween when you're trying to look like 1985 drag queen roller Barbie, you never did makeup like this. So plan it, practice it. If you're gonna do it yourself, you gotta practice it. I've practiced, trust me. When I say I've practiced, it's kind of scary to think about, but I have. You want to make sure that your eyes are popping on stage, and again, that you've got a whole aesthetic look, that this isn't some kind of crazy, awful drag queen makeup that you've got going on, but that from afar, it's like Mona Lisa. From afar, it looks pretty good. When people get up close to you at Olive Garden after, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? They're going to be thinking you're looking crazy no matter what. But the point is, dark tan, you need dark makeup. It's got to be popping. It can't be your regular everyday stuff. So I don't care how good you are at every day, you need to plan for show day. Big lashes, dark eyes, make sure they can see them lips popping. So plan ahead or plan to spend the money. And then lastly, make sure you look at online, what are their poses. So posing in, for example, the NPC in bikini is vastly different than posing in the INBF for bikini. So you need to know what do their quarter turns look like, what is their standard front pose, what does that look like, and you need to find a coach that can teach you the poses and run you through the poses accordingly. So when you go and you're looking for a posing coach, yeah, sure, I can teach you the poses, that's great. What federation? Because I can show somebody how to pose in my federation, but I can't tell you the first thing about how to pose in the NPC. I don't know. I know it's different, I can tell you that, that's all I know. So take a look at the posing criteria, and then find yourself a posing coach. Typically, you can reach out to the show promoter to find out who might be running posing clinics in the area, or who they might recommend, or reach out to a friend that you know might be into it, and they can probably give you a hand to locating a coach. I know people reach out to me all the time, and I try to send them in the right direction of someone that I know teaches posing in their area. So don't be foolish. Start learning the poses early and start practicing them. It's never too soon to get smooth with that. I've seen the best physiques on stage lose simply because they do not know how to present themselves. So a lot of the work is done well before you get to stage, but the bottom line is, if you don't know how to present your physique, you don't have a chance. You've got to know how to transition, how to hit that pose quickly. In my federations, there's a panel of 7 judges, and if you're farting around in between poses and you're not hitting it right away, you might have missed the chance to have 4 of them see you, versus practicing and smoothly transitioning in your quarter turns. Quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, and you want to be able to hit it, hold it, hit it, hold it, hit it, hold it. You want them to see you in the best light as many times as possible, because that's when they're scoring. So learn the poses, find a posing coach. Lastly, okay, this is the real lastly, I already said that. Lastly, you need to consider, how long should your prep be? For me, what I find works is, I know at this point what my target stage weight is, so I can look at that and say, okay, I need to lose X amount of pounds, and if that is 1 pound per week, that means this is how many weeks my prep is. So if you're somebody that's a first timer, you want to certainly allow for some extra time. You don't want to be, I know at this point exactly how to dial my body in, so I don't fuck around. I can get a pound a week without a problem. If you're not sure how your body's going to respond to certain things, how much macro tweaking you're going to have to do, or how much potential cardio switches you might need to do, then you want to give yourself some extra time. I know people that can get ready for a show in 12 weeks, and I know people that no matter how many shows they do, they always do a 20-week prep. But the bottom line is, you're putting a lot of time and effort, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to compete, so you don't want to not give yourself enough time. So when you're planning your prep, make sure you give yourself enough time. Nobody wants to be, freaking out in the last final 3 weeks. And part of that is, consider if you should be hiring a prep coach. There's coaches that will just do nutrition plans. There's coaches that are CPTs and they'll do training plans for you. I know plenty of local coaches that see people in person, and they also will online coach. So don't rule that out. Don't think, hey, I live in Connecticut and I know that coach is in Maine. Don't think that you can't work with them. You may very well be able to. So reach out, find out what kind of plans they offer, find out what that process looks like. And I think it's important for you to think about the fact that you're hiring someone to work for you. You are the customer. So you should be asking questions. You should be interviewing them. How many people have you prepped before? What kind of tactics do you typically use? Do you rely solely on increasing cardio? Like, people don't have time to be doing 2 hours of cardio on top of training an hour to an hour and a half a day of weights. So these are the kind of questions you want to ask before you're in some kind of verbal contract with somebody and paying them hundreds of dollars, and then finding out this guy is a freaking crazy Fruit Loop, wants me to do 2 hours of treadmill a day, and I'm barely getting in my 90 minutes of lift. So make sure you ask them about the things that are important to you. Be honest. I want to compete in figure, but I don't have a lot of muscle. When do you think I would be ready? What do you see? If I send you pictures, can you tell me what you think my top 2 attributes are and my bottom 2 attributes are? I think it's important that you understand, 1, that you're the customer, but 2, that you need to trust this person. You need to feel like you can rely on them to dial your body in, because at this point, I'm going to presume that you don't know how, right? So it's going to take you time to try different things with their guidance, to safely try different things, and you've got to be able to 110% commit to that plan and 120% trust in them and trust in the process. Things take time. You might make 1 tweak and you got to sit on it for 3 weeks to see over time how that looks. These things don't happen in a couple days. So really consider hiring a prep coach if this is your first time. This is your health we're talking about. So something that people think sometimes is, wow, look how muscular that person is. Look how fit they are. They're so healthy. I'm going to tell you this right now. We look awesome, and we do a lot of hard work and tweaking with nutrition to get that look. But there's a reason why we don't look like that year round, and there's a reason why we don't hold on to that look for months and months on end, because it's not healthy. To get that look, you are not healthy. You're in some state of dehydration. You're in some state of exhaustion. You are working at a calorie deficit. So health is very different than competition ready. So get that out of your mind. So the reason why people hire coaches, seasoned and not seasoned competitors, is because they are somebody that you're trusting to get you to the finish line healthfully. And that should be at the top of your priority list when you're questioning them about what tactics they're going to use to help get you there. So I hope I've covered everything for you, and I've helped answer some questions about what things you should consider before you dive right in and compete. We're not talking about a 5K race that you're signing up for next month and you can run a few times a week and jump right in. This is like the marathon of running, right? So it's not something that you should take lightly. Very passionate about competing. I love it. I was competitive in high school and college with sports, so I love the idea that as an adult I have a way to kind of vet that out and continue my competitiveness. But at the same time, I think it's important to take a look at the total impact that it's going to have on your life and on the people that are important to you in your life, you know? So Big Mike has gone to every single show with me except for one. So 15 days out of his life that he's never going to get back, that he's sat in the audience alone a lot of those times, waiting for me to come out on stage for 10 minutes, right? He's there 14, 15-hour days, and he sees me for 10 total minutes probably on stage. So it's something that doesn't just impact you, it impacts your loved ones as well. So think about all of those things. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what other questions you have. I'd love to answer them in future vlogs.